What were we asked to do when we were sent home because of COVID and we're being paid? Welcome to Miss Hood's Retired School Bus Life. Those of you who've been following me, you know that I have not driven a school bus with children on it since March of last year. And when they sent us home to justify paying us, they told us that we needed to read our transportation manual. Time for work. Let's see what they're going to tell us today. They assigned a different chapter every week, and we had to respond back to them saying that we had read the chapter. Every Tuesday morning between 8 and noon, I am to check in. Give my name, say I'm checking in, and that I'm studying my material. And then this is a schedule, a reading schedule per week. Well, guess I better go find that manual. I hadn't touched this manual in 8 years, so it was a good idea to read this manual. I found my manual. Okay, let's see what's our assignment. Okay, so this week I'm supposed to read chapter 1 today. And then tomorrow I'm supposed to read chapters 2, 3, and 15. And then I'm supposed to read chapter 4 on Wednesday and Thursday. And then I'm supposed to review 1 through 4 on Friday. Let's get busy. Now, I'm curious if you all have a manual, transportation procedures and training manual where you're driving. Transportation Procedures and Training Manual. Chapter 1. I want to read some of these things to you and maybe make your day. Chapter 1, Training Work Responsibilities. The transportation services compound staffs are responsible for developing bus routes within their assigned areas. I didn't know that. I underlined that in my book because I wanted to remember that the next time I got a route assigned to me. The district's fleet of more than 800 buses travels the equivalent of 3 trips around the world each school day, transporting more than 60,000 students to and from school by providing the following services. This was done 5 years ago. Now we have, I think we have about 1,000 buses, and we're transporting, I think, 110,000 students. That's what we're doing. Well, that's what we were doing. The following services are regular bus service from school to home, home to school, early childhood programs, kindergarten programs, elementary cluster schools, magnet schools, open enrollment schools, optional programs, traditional schools. No wonder we're spread so thin. Proper driver attitude, knowledge, and skills are not just acquired, but must be developed through your interest in safe driving. Through intensive pre-employment training and ongoing professional development activities, you will upgrade your skills to cope with the constantly changing driving environment. You must constantly reevaluate your driving techniques. Every day that I drove my school bus, I learned something new. Every day I got better and better and better at checking my mirrors, checking the kids, watching the traffic. It is a school bus driver's responsibility to keep an accurate, up-to-date copy of the route with the coordinator and on the bus for use by a substitute driver. Where you drive, are those routes kept on the bus you're driving as a substitute driver? Or are you given those routes from your coordinator or from your administrator and you take it with you? State regulations allow the driver to assign seats. Yes. A lot of times I had kindergarten parents that wanted their kindergartners close to me, and they stayed close to me. My kindergartners always sat in the front seats. But there were times when I had to bring up an unruly child and have them sit close to me until they could show me they could make good choices and good decisions further back in the bus. And then the kindergarten parents would get upset because there's a big kid in the front. It's a challenge to keep all that managed. It really is a challenge. The driver shall not wait for students who are habitually late. The first time a student is late, the driver should explain that he or she will not wait a second time. I always did tell my students that if you're not at the bus stop on time, I'm leaving. I'm not waiting for you. Now, the elementary kids, that was a different scenario. I did give them a little leeway. I did call the parent and explain the child's not getting to the bus stop on time. A lot of times those were children who the parents had to leave for work before they got picked up by the bus. So I gave them a little more understanding to get things in shape. If I had parents that couldn't comply, then I would tell them, if you're not here, I can't sit and wait. I've got to move on. And if you're not here when I drop off in the afternoon, then I have to take your child to the home of the innocents because you're not here and I don't have anything else to do with them. The school is closed. So I'm really curious about how you all manage those situations. It's one of the biggest hardships in our job, I believe, with younger children and having to drop them off at a bus stop and there's nobody there. That's a really tough decision to make. The bus driver must use acceptable student management techniques and is responsible for student behavior while transporting the students to and from school. The driver should discuss with the principal when a student shows a tendency to become a problem. This will allow the principal to help the driver to further avoid difficulty. I am responsible for their behavior. There were so many times when I wanted to say, if you're going to make me responsible for the behavior, then you're going to allow me to discipline in the way I need to discipline to keep the children behaving on the bus and to keep the bus safe. I didn't always see eye to eye with some of the administration. The training section also presents safety programs at district schools and related functions to encourage young children to be safe school bus riders. Now, when I was driving, I never heard of anything like that. And I never heard of a driver that was invited to be a part of that. So I'm real curious to find out from you,
Do you all do school bus safety programs at your school? I mean, this is an excellent idea, but I just never heard of it.
You should establish a positive relationship with your passengers. Your passengers' conduct will depend a great deal on what you say or do.
It's true to a certain degree. It is true. I believe that I did a good job with treating the kids with respect and demanding that respect from them. I had students that they were not familiar with that kind of discipline, and we struggled a little bit through the year. But I always invited parents into the conversation. I always picked up the phone and called parents. If I had a student on my bus that was gregarious and jovial and loved riding the bus and loved Miss Hood, and all of a sudden I get nothing from that student, then I am on the phone with the parent and I'm finding out what happened. And it's usually the dog died or the grandparents got sick or, something. Mom and dad are splitting up. And it helped me to understand and help that child get through that as best I could.
The building principal shall not allow students to carry cans, bottles, cartons, or other food onto the bus.
I know I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to laugh. Yeah, I had to chuckle at that myself. Don't you wish that would happen? We have a program where I drove, and it was called Blessings in a Backpack. I don't know if you all have that where you drive. Every Thursday, these kids would be loaded up with individual servings of food. Some would be in the cans like the SpaghettiOs and lasagna and that stuff. And they'd have chips and crackers and a bunch of stuff. And the school I was driving for that year was a tough group. And those kids had food fights every Thursday. Eventually, I reserved a seat right behind me, and everybody put their backpacks there that day. That's how I solved that problem.
In emergency situations, the building principal shall exercise jurisdiction over the local bus driver without consulting the coordinator.
In my 8 years of driving, that never happened. When we had bad weather, it was communicated over the radio. And that's how we knew whether to park the bus somewhere and wait, whether to hurry up and get the kids home, whether there was going to be a delay in the school releasing the students. All of that came through the coordinator and the radio. I'm glad it didn't, because that would have been a problem for me. I always felt like my coordinator was my boss.
The building principal shall meet with all bus drivers prior to the opening of school to discuss assignments, student management, loading and unloading procedures, and bus schedules.
Before school started, every year we had a meeting. And we went to the schools that we were driving out of and sat down with the principals. Now, these principals were supposed to discuss assignments, student management, loading and unloading procedures, and bus schedules. And in my 8 years, there was one principal that did that. She was excellent. She had drawings laid out for us, how the buses parked, how the students were released, everything that we could ever want to know. She had handouts and everything for us.
The building principal shall cooperate and assist the coordinator and bus driver in obtaining names and addresses of students on each individual bus route.
Do your schools do that for you? Or do you have to pull that together for yourself? We had to do it and keep a copy on the bus for accident purposes. When we had to call the police about an accident, we had to give them a list of every student and their addresses for the police officer's report.
A federal law requires school bus drivers to instruct all students in safe riding practices at least twice yearly.
I'm waiting for you to finish laughing. Don't you wish it was only twice a year? I had to say it so much that I finally wrote a song about it.
Want to hear it?
Louie way. Oh, baby, you gotta sit in your seat. Yeah, 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 I said a Louie way. Oh, baby, you gotta sit in your seat. Yeah, 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 yeah. Please keep your feet on the floor. And pick up your stuff before you walk out that door. Keep your voice down and your hands to yourself. Really do I need to repeat myself? A Louie way. Oh, baby, you gotta sit in your seat. Yeah, 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 I said a Louie way. Oh, baby, you gotta sit in your seat. Yeah, 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 yeah. Please keep your feet on the floor. And pick up your stuff before you walk out that door. Keep your voice down and your hands to yourself. Really do I need to repeat myself? A Louie way. Oh, baby, you gotta sit in your seat. Yeah, 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 I said a Louie way. Oh, baby, you gotta sit in your seat. It's just another day, and Miss Hood's retired. School bus life. Be safe, everybody.